Welcome to World Vitiligo Day celebrations in Australia. On behalf of the Vitiligo Association of Australia, I'd like to say thank you all for coming or attending, whether you're here in person or online. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Faye and I am honoured to stand here today as the new president of the VAA. This role is incredibly close to my heart because, like many of you, I live with vitiligo and I understand the impact it can have on not just your appearance, but on your mental health and your self-worth. Vitiligo first appeared for me in my mid-20s, what I like to call the prime of my life, and it changed how I saw myself almost overnight. Like many of you, I spent years hiding behind long sleeves and makeup, excuses, you name it, I hid behind it. I poured so much energy into treatments, doctors, naturopaths, healers, constantly chasing a fix. It's been exhausting. And Lord knows I probably could have bought myself a small luxury car with all the money I spent chasing all those treatments. But in the middle of all that exhaustion, something shifted for me. I realised that real transformation wasn't going to happen on my skin. It had to happen within my skin. So today I proudly stand here, not only as your president, but also as a certified coach, deeply driven to support others with visible differences navigate their own journeys. I also want to be a strong advocate, pushing for better awareness, representation, and ensuring people with vitiligo are heard in places where decisions are made. Which brings me to today and this incredible community. I want to take a moment and acknowledge those who've helped us get here first. To Nadine Karadzik, our former president, who I know is joining us online. A heartfelt thank you for your years of passionate leadership and for believing in me. To our incredible team at the VAA, who, let me remind you, do what they do completely in a voluntary capacity. So Polo, who's here today, Mohan, who's online, Angela and Akhtar, thank you for your wisdom, your patience, and of course, putting up with me. And to Associate Professor Dr. Adrian, a brilliant dermatologist, a long-time ally, a very special thank you to you for being such a powerful supporter for this community. For those who may not know, we're actually gathered here today in Adrian's practice, just one example of his generosity and commitment to our cause. But it doesn't end there. Adrian served for many years as our president of the VAA, and while he doesn't live with vitiligo himself, he has been a strong and unwavering advocate over many years. Adrian, we're so grateful for all that you do. And to all our allies, friends, health professionals, thank you for your support. It helps us feel stronger and more seen. And a big heartfelt thank you to the generous donors for today, Proparia, L'Oreal, CeraVe and Mugu. Because of their incredible support, everyone today walks away with a packed full of goodies gift bag valued at around $400, which is excellent. And finally, to all of you, whether you're here in person or online, thank you. This community continues to uplift, connect and empower, and it reminds us that no one walks this journey alone. Your presence here today, in person or online, your stories, your support, they matter more than you actually realise. Since stepping into this role and thinking about what's next for the VAA, two priorities have stood out most clearly for me. First, our children, because they need us. As adults, we have access to support networks, social media and global communities. We can find others who look like us and share our experiences. But kids don't have that. A parent recently reminded me that their child doesn't have social media, no Instagram, no online community, no way to connect with others who get it. Their only social network is what happens out in the playground. And that really stuck with me. Childhood is hard enough without feeling like you're on your own. So this year we're developing school and parent information packs and looking for ways to bring our children together to make sure that they feel seen, supported and celebrated. The second priority is building a stronger community, a more connected community. We know that 1 to 2% of the population live with vitiligo. That could mean up to 3 million people in Australia, but many people still remain disconnected or unseen. So this August, we're launching our bi-monthly online meetups, open to everyone, and we'll do a child-friendly versions as well. You can expect structured conversations, guest speakers, mental health support, expert Q&As, and of course, a little fun along the way. This ties beautifully into the theme for this year's World Vitiligo Day, which is visible and valued. It's not just a theme, it's a promise to ourselves, to each other, and to the next generation. We can't do it alone. Your support, your energy and presence, it really does all matter. So as I wrap up, I want to say thank you for being here and for showing up and for being part of this beautiful movement. Together, we're creating something powerful, a community where every person with vitiligo feels visible, valued, and never alone. So, thanks everyone. Thank you. A quick note on what's ahead for today. We've got an incredible lineup of speakers and our guest panel who are here to answer all of our Q&As. But before we welcome our special guests, we'd love you to take part in a small activity today. I think most of you would have picked up a clipboard and some paper and a marker. And for those of you online, it will be a link online that will be shared so you can still participate. But we would love for you throughout the event to reflect and share something that you've either learnt today, something you tell your younger self, or a piece of wisdom for someone starting their journey. So just take your time throughout the day. It will be really lovely, and then it'll be great to stick them all up on a wall. They can be anonymous. You don't have to tell us who you are. And submit them online. We'd love to see and hear what you've got to say as well. And that's it. Are we ready to begin? Yeah? Okay, let's begin with our guest speakers for the day. So our first guest almost doesn't need an introduction, especially if you use social media. With a staggering 630,000 plus followers across her channels and a whopping 550 million views, it really is hard to miss her. Over the past 4 years, Onella has become one of the most recognised faces in Australian fashion and beauty media. She has collaborated with major brands such as Mecca, Bonds, L'Oreal, Nike and Lululemon. She's walked the runways and been featured in publications such as Vogue Australia. As a model, a content creator, Onella's mission is to inspire people to feel confident in their skin and works to expand the definition of beauty by representing diverse bodies and skin conditions in the media. And if you don't already follow Onella, then you should. Onella, you should. Together with her fiance Ryan, who's here today as well, and their 2 golden retrievers, they certainly know how to entertain and put a smile on your face. Please give Onella a warm welcome today. Thank you. So Onella, I was hoping to just ask you some questions, if that's okay. It's probably a fairly obvious one, and that is, can you tell me a little bit about your journey with vitiligo?
So my journey with vitiligo started between the age of 2 and 5. My parents are here, they can confirm that. And it was one that I've always lived with it. So it's just been something that's been around my whole life. When I was about 7 years old, my mum put a bit of makeup on me to cover up the vitiligo on my face, and I hated it. It was heavy. It just wasn't what I wanted to do as a 7-year-old. And I guess I just made a really bold decision at the time to not cover up my vitiligo. And somehow that's carried me through to my adult life. And I don't really know why or how that really stuck. And throughout reflecting, I guess I've, just figured out that it's accumulation of the people around me, the confidence that I built, and just a lot of different things that's basically helped me live with confidence in my adult life with vitiligo. And it's helped me along the way, and it's helped me in my career and with my definition of beauty and where I sit in the world, and basically become my purpose in life.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Actually, you can maybe tell us a little bit about how you think that vitiligo has shaped your identity and outlook on life.
Yeah, so given that I've had vitiligo my whole life, my skin, especially on my face, has changed progressively from when I was a child to my teens to my adult life, and even now still continues to change. There'll be, some days that, my fiance's parents will be like, "Oh, you didn't have that spot last time I saw you," and it's just, continually evolving. But particularly in my teenage years, I was very adamant to not cover up my vitiligo. I remember my mum wanted me to wear stockings in summer under my summer dress to cover up the vitiligo on my legs, and it comes out of a place of wanting to protect me. And when I got to high school, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, because I don't want to. I want to be just like everybody else and, have my vitiligo on show wherever that may be. And I was very confident in it. It was something that didn't bother me. If someone had something mean or rude to say about my vitiligo, I just brush it off, because I knew I had my friends that accepted me as I was, and that was really strong for me. But then I realized throughout my teenage years that there was other things that I really hated about my body, and I've hated my body since I was 11 years old, which is very young. And it was, I realized it was very much an influence of the outer society that we live in. And I mean, it's still prominent now, but body image is a very big thing, and we're always constantly criticizing our bodies and what size we wear and can we fit into those clothes, and, has our body changed in the last few years? And I realized that I had this immense confidence with my vitiligo, but not with everything else. And so reflecting on that, I kind of took that confidence that I had with my skin and translated it to other areas of life. And so that's one of the ways that vitiligo has really played a big role in my life, and a really positive role in my life, by actually helping me be confident in other areas. And I often get asked questions with the modeling work that I do of, like, what the struggles were with vitiligo. And for me, I'm really lucky that I have a very positive experience, and I always share how it's actually made me more confident in other areas of my life, which, has sort of shaped who I am and the way I view myself and the way I view, my body internally. And it's sort of become who I am, or a part of who I am.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I don't think I'd be standing up here if I didn't have vitiligo. So there you go. I totally can relate to that. So what do you think representation means to you when it comes to skin diversity?
So for me, representation is everything, whether it's with skin diversity, body image, culture, everything, right? What we see in the media is meant to be a representation of what we see in the world around us, especially in Australia. We're a very multicultural nation. There's people from all different walks of life, and we don't often see that represented in the media, whether it's on the runway or in the ads that you see, or whether it's on social media and all of this content that we now consume that's constantly around us. And I remember the first time that I ever saw someone else with vitiligo in the media. Obviously, we know Winnie Harlow. She is huge. She's doing amazing things. But she is a supermodel. She feels a bit unattainable. She feels like, she is the top of the top. And while she's doing great things, it almost felt a bit like a novelty. Like, she was known for being that vitiligo model. And I remember the first time I saw someone else with vitiligo was when I was just scrolling through the Gymshark website. I was looking at buying some activewear for the gym, and I was just scrolling, and I scrolled and came back, and I went, wait a second, that girl has vitiligo. And I realized what that meant for me to see someone else just randomly that has vitiligo, that was just there, and they weren't there because they had vitiligo, they were just there. And it made me really happy and really like elevated to see someone else that had it, that was, you know, doing
normal.
just normal. Yeah, they were just there.
Supermodel.
Yeah, exactly, not a supermodel. And so for me, representation throughout my career is basically what I do and why I do what I do, because everyone deserves to see themselves represented in some way. And I say, even if someone else looks at me and they don't have vitiligo, but they have something else that's different about them, then that's still a representation of people, right? We're not all the same. We're not all the same size. We're not all the same skin tone. Some of us have multiple skin tones. And so seeing that representation of lots of different people really helps us with our own self-image and is everything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm curious for the answer to this next question, but what does beauty mean to you today?
So I get this question a lot because I work in beauty and fashion, and what beauty means to me is confidence. And how beauty has changed for me is moving away from perfection. And I think growing up, beauty and the people that we see in the media that are labeled beautiful are perfect. They're the supermodels, they've got the clear skin, you know, whatever that may be. And for me, beauty is not about perfection, but it's more about noticing those little things. I love nature and I'm an interior designer. I finished my degree in 2022. And a lot of what we did in interiors is using inspiration from elsewhere in the world to then translate that to a design. And a lot of my inspiration came from nature, and I realized that all of these little intricate details of nature that I really loved were actually represented in us as humans. But we don't look at our imperfections as being beautiful. We look at them as something that we need to be fixed. Versus when we go out in nature and you see those organic patterns, you're like, wow, that's so beautiful. And like, you know, you look at it very differently. So I guess I applied that into my life. And I look at my vitiligo as being beautiful because it's organic and it's unique and it's not perfect. Yeah. And I think that's sort of how my relationship with beauty has really changed. And for me now, beauty is more about confidence and having fun and, you know, figuring out what that means to you personally, and what that is you like to wear or what you like, how you like to express yourself. I feel like that is beauty. And when it shines from within, I think that's what true beauty really means.
Yeah. Well said. I think exactly the same things. And I agree that nature, we don't look at a leaf that's two-toned or an animal that's two-toned and think they're weird or odd. Why do we put that pressure on humans to look one colour and perfect? It doesn't make sense.
In fact, variegated plants are very expensive. And that's a mutation that just happens and they're so expensive.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Onella, how can we help young people with vitiligo to grow up feeling confident in their skin?
So this is something I've really been reflecting on over the last few weeks since I had a chat to Faye, and you mentioned what that parent said to you, that children don't have social media like we do. To really broaden their communities and meet more people, you're really limited to the people physically around you, and on your playground. And growing up, I was the only darker skinned person in my class. I didn't really realize that until one of my friends pointed it out to me. And I'm really incredibly lucky that I had really good friends and classmates around me, that I was never bullied, and I went to a high school where there was, you know, lots more people, but still the same thing happened. And I can really appreciate that for someone who is feeling very isolated. That can be very hard. And can you remind me of the question? Is it for parents? Have I gone off in a tangent?
How we can help
young people.
Yeah. What can we do, maybe even as adults, to help support them to feel more connected?
I think there's a lot of things. I think when it comes to confidence, there's a lot of things. And there's no one size fits all. And it's probably an accumulation of a lot of different things that we can try and apply. And I think certain things that I think of, they're a bit contradictory in the way of, like, you want to make sure that young people with vitiligo feel seen with their vitiligo and know that their vitiligo is beautiful and unique and something to be celebrated, that they don't have to cover it up. But equally, you also don't want to make their experience to be all about vitiligo. Yeah. Like, they may live with vitiligo, they may have vitiligo, but that's not everything about them. And to really like honor what they want to do. So maybe taking a lead from them to give them a safe space to talk or express what they're feeling, or situations that they've come across in life that maybe they're unsure about. And equally to give them a space to not have to do that and go, you like to paint, let's focus on that, you know, and to focus on those things. I think there's a bit of a mix. I think people need to feel supported, but they also need a break.
Yeah. I think it's really important too, not to overdo it, because by overcompensating, then we almost make them feel not normal. Yeah. So it's kind of,
you don't want to isolate people, but you want to make the experience holistic, because not everyone is one thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yep. Great. If you had to give advice to a parent, I feel like you've already answered this, whose child has just been diagnosed, what are some tips that you would give them potentially?
I think would be obviously educating yourself on what it is, but also how others live with it, right? Because everybody lives with it differently. And I guess as a parent, you have the luxury of having social media, and there's going to be a bunch of other people that you'll see speak that also have social media, and they post their experiences on it too. And I think using that to build your own confidence around the condition is going to help you support your young person with that condition as well. And again, the same thing of making sure that they've got a safe space and feel supported to talk to someone about their experience, and what they've come across. If they want to cover it up, that might be something that gives them confidence.
Give them the options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if treatments is something that they want to pursue, and you know, with a really young child, they may not really know, and just be okay that that might change throughout their life. I'm sure my parents can speak to the fact that I went up and down between different treatments and hating some things and not minding others, and then not wanting to be up at 7 a.m. for treatments, and then now I don't do anything at all. So it really just is a journey, and you're kind of along for the ride with them, and it's both of your first times with it. So yeah, just look at things to build your confidence, and then you can kind of translate that to support a young person.
Yeah. So as a parent, it's about educating yourself and knowing all the options that are out there and presenting them in a way, but leaving or holding space for your child to kind of make the decision for themselves. Yeah.
And don't feel too overwhelmed yourself as well. Like, you don't have to, you know, we say look at all the options, but that can really send people into a spiral of there's so many options and there's so many things that people tell you. I constantly get comments on my Instagram of like, this person can help you and these doctors know this, and there's so much information. So, you know, find someone that you trust, you know, clinics and doctors like these, and exactly, and like talk about your options and then see what best works for you and your family and, you know, for that person, because that's not always going to be a one size fits all.
Yep. Agree. Onella, you've smashed it in time. Thank you. It was very quick. But let's thank Onella, everybody. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Sincerely and deeply, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I think your insights, warmth and presence are beyond your years for sure. You are remarkable, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that you are a beacon for our community. So again, Onella, thank you so much. Yeah. I think we've got a little gift for you, just a little token of our appreciation for you coming today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Onella. Thank you so much. Poor Onella hasn't been, she's been not feeling the best this week, so to get here has been amazing. Thank you. Amazing. I hope we're ready for our next guest. In fact, I think I can see her online. So I'm going to introduce her. So from homegrown inspiration to across the pond, all the way in the UK, our next guest is the gorgeous Natalie Ambersley. Natalie is a passionate advocate, speaker and content creator who has transformed her journey with vitiligo into a platform for awareness and empowerment. Diagnosed at age 3, she once struggled with confidence, but now proudly embraces her skin, inspiring others with visible difference. Since 2013, she has modelled for beauty brands, featured in Cosmopolitan and Stylist, and spoken on national platforms about body confidence and self-worth. As a director at the Vitiligo Society in the UK, she supports awareness and representation while also advising pharmaceutical and medical organisations. Through her work in styling, content creation and visual storytelling, Natalie is dedicated to normalising vitiligo and encouraging others to embrace their individuality. She lives in the UK, as I said, and God bless her, is up at the crack of dawn to join us live. Please give a warm welcome to the lovely Natalie Ambersley.
You're on, brilliant. Okay, so fantastic. So first, just to say it's an absolute pleasure to be here, to be sharing this space with you. It's an incredible community, and I just want to say thank you for inviting me along to share this moment with you and to share my journey. So as I mentioned, I am up at the crack of dawn. It's 5:30 in the morning and the sun is literally just rising. My name's Natalie. I'm in my early 40s. I have vitiligo and I've had it since I was 3 years old. And by day, I work for a British newspaper. And in my spare time, I'm an advocate, charity director, and also a speaker. And I speak very passionately about vitiligo as someone who has lived with it for my entire life. So if I just go back to the beginning, I'm going to just share a lot of my journey from when I developed the condition right up to where I am today as an ambassador. So my parents first noticed a small white patch on the back of my hand when I was 3 years old. They had absolutely no idea what it was. They'd never heard of vitiligo. There was no history of vitiligo in the family. So naturally, they were very, very confused. And because I'm mixed race, that very small white spot was a very, very stark contrast against my natural skin tone. So naturally, they were quite concerned. So they went to my GP, which is obviously what you do when you notice something different on your child. And the GP flicked through his medical manual and simply said, I'm not sure what it is. If it gets worse, bring her back and we will try and sort of figure this out. So my parents took me away and the spot continued to spread very, very slowly at this point. They then took me back to the GP, naturally very concerned and upset by this point because my skin was literally changing before their eyes. And again, the doctor said, we have no idea what this is and we're going to have to refer her to a dermatologist. And as someone who was born in the 80s, vitiligo back then wasn't hugely spoken about. So it was a bit of an unknown condition. So it was quite hard to get a diagnosis. And often back then, and what is still very prevalent today, unfortunately, is that vitiligo can be written off just as a condition that is purely cosmetic, rather than something that is very psychologically and mentally damaging. So my GP referred me to a dermatologist, and it was there that it was confirmed that I had vitiligo and there was no cure. My parents were devastated. They were hugely concerned about what this might mean for me growing up as a young girl, whether I would get bullied at school, called names, and just how bad my skin was going to get. And it did get bad. It covered my eyes and my mouth, so it was quite prevalent on my face. It was all over my arms, my hands, my feet, my body, and my legs. So I was walking around as this little girl with vitiligo, and I had absolutely no idea what it was. So treatment started after that very, very quickly. And I think, again, back then, if you got diagnosed with something, it's not like today where you're maybe taught to embrace it or you're taught how to manage it. The first thing you think of is, right, how do I fix this? So treatment for me started, and the first thing that was given to me were steroid creams, one for my face and a harsher one for my body. And I used that for around 6 or 7 months, and it worked very, very lightly on my face, but it didn't work on my body. In fact, there were a lot of side effects for me on my body. I started to get quite streaky skin and ended up with like really horrible sort of stretch marks on my legs because it was quite an intense cream. So I stopped using that. I then tried homeopathy. We tried changing my diet. There were lots of new things being trialed in the market. So I tried all different sorts of creams and nothing seemed to work. Nothing seemed to work. And my vitiligo was just stayed purely fixed. So as a little girl, I had a really happy childhood because I didn't know that I was different. I think when you're so young and you're so innocent, you don't understand that visible differences is a thing. You just think people are people. So I was protected by my innocence. My parents were absolutely adamant that I wouldn't learn to grow up thinking that my skin needed to be covered. So I ran around in shorts and t-shirts. I would wear a swimsuit if I was going swimming and everybody would see my skin. And I was a really happy little girl. So I didn't really think about my vitiligo growing up until about the age of 11 when things got really bad because I then started secondary school and that word teen kicked in and I became very, very aware that I was different. So my teenage years were my most difficult. I struggled a lot. I felt hypersensitive to being very different. I was very self-aware, very self-conscious, and had absolutely no confidence. I had a really lovely set of friends, but I just felt like I was just this walking advert for vitiligo, and I was just constantly being judged and spoken about and stared at, when actually this wasn't really the case. Swimming lessons were really hard for me, so I had to go swimming every week at school because naturally, you know, they would teach you how to swim, and I felt really exposed in a swimsuit. In fact, I would run to the changing rooms 10 minutes before the actual lesson, get changed into my swimsuit, and then stay in the changing room, so scared to come out, literally quivering in the corner because I just couldn't face the thought of being around the pool with all my friends with my skin so exposed. In the end, I started to forge notes from my mum, who would excuse me from the lesson saying that I was either unwell or just couldn't take part in the lesson. And I would sit on the side and just watch the other kids swimming. That's how difficult it was. I absolutely loved sports. I was an incredible athlete. I loved running. I did all field sports, but it was really ironic because it was the one lesson where I'd need to get changed into another uniform, which was shorts and t-shirts. And my teachers weren't very understanding at all or very considerate. And they would just force me into shorts and t-shirts. And I would beg them and ask them if I could wear some tracksuit bottoms. And they would simply say, no, because that's not the uniform. So it really overshadowed my ability to really enjoy the thing that I loved the most at school. Summer was ridiculous for me. And every season I would dread summer because I had to answer questions around why I wasn't wearing shorts and t-shirts like all my friends. Everybody would get really excited. Summer was coming. They could wear, you know, they could wear warm clothes, feel the sun on their skin, whilst I continued to wear long sleeve tops, trousers, and had to also wear 50 SPF sun cream to avoid my skin from burning. So it was a really embarrassing time for me. And every single summer I used to dread that it was coming up. And for most people, summer is the happiest time. And for me, it was just the most awful time. I loved reading girls' magazines. And I think with magazines, they were indirectly telling me that my skin wasn't beautiful because every week I would rush to the newsagents, which is like a sweet shop, and I would pick up these girls' magazines, flick through them, and all the girls would look exactly the same. And I didn't realize this was happening because I was just reading the content. But what this was indirectly telling me was that my skin wasn't considered beautiful because there was no one there that represented me in my form. So over time, I learned to shrink, not just emotionally, but physically too. And I took up less space in the world and I really felt like I didn't belong. I felt very isolated, very alone. The only person that really supported me was my mum when I was crying at home saying, you know, why do I look so different and why don't I fit in? Because outside of that, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't really know how to answer any questions. And I just felt incredibly self-conscious. So my skin did cost me my confidence all through my teen years, right up into my early 20s. I felt like I was just a walking advert, a really bad walking advert for this condition that I absolutely hated. When I left school and went to college, which was around 17 years old, I started to become more aware of things like makeup and fake tan. So I relied heavily on these products. Camouflage makeup was really thick back then, and there was like 10 colors, nothing that really matched my skin tone. So I'd have to mix 2 different colors together and put it onto my skin, and it was thick. It used to get all over the white sheets, or if I touched anybody, it'd get all over them. So it was really hard because it just didn't really work for me. And then I found fake tan, which worked wonders. Fake tan became really popular in the early 2000s, and there were bottles and bottles of it on the shelves here. So I would buy every single brand I can find, whether it was worth £2 or £25. It didn't matter how expensive this stuff was. For me, this was my answer to making me feel normal. And I would paste layers and layers onto my skin to the point where I would look orange. And my mum would say to me, Natalie, can you calm down with the fake tan, because you are wearing way too much? Whereas for me, it was the only thing that helped me to feel normal and gave me a sense of belonging and fitting in. Dating was really hard. In fact, I didn't date for years because I was worried that my skin would be perceived as negative and it wouldn't be accepted. That feeling of going on a date and having to explain my skin, or that person looking at my skin thinking, what on earth, why does your skin look like that, just made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. So I never dated, and I could never feel comfortable whilst on a date either. So I just didn't bother with that. Beach holidays were really tough. My friends would go on beach holidays often, and whilst I would go along, for me, the concern or the priority was always making sure I had a good sun cream and making sure I was covered. So I'd have to wear a full bathing suit, I'd have to wear a sarong to cover my legs, and often something around my shoulders and my arms as well, which was really tough because, again, it was just that feeling of never being able to fit in, even on the beach. And I was really, really self-conscious. When I used to go on holiday with my mum, because we are really close, I would go down to the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning before any of the crowds would gather, and I'd go and enjoy the water really early in the morning when it was still quite chilly. And then when the crowds used to come to the beach, I would then disappear back up to my hotel room. So that was really the only way that I could enjoy going on the beach. Social settings were really hard. Obviously, I was very comfortable around sort of friends and family, but any new social settings where I potentially meet new people or have to shake someone's hand, that would make me feel really uncomfortable as well. So it was just that feeling of vitiligo just constantly being on my mind. When I woke up every single morning, the first thing I would see was the vitiligo on my body, and I'd feel uncomfortable and know that I really, really hated it. The stares, the whispers, the questions were just exhausting. You know, that constant reminder that I stood out. People asking me if I'd been burnt in a fire was really common. People asking me if I was born like it, or just whispering behind my back and really staring intently. These were all really difficult moments. And as much as these things were really easy for people to do, you know, staring at me was one thing. But for me, staring at me would literally just ruin my whole day, because again, it was just that reminder that I look so, so different. So after spending a good 10 years in treatment as a little girl and being in and out of hospital, and just thinking about being in hospital as a young girl, I didn't realise why I was there. I didn't realise that they were trying to fix my skin. In fact, I thought all kids went to hospital because there was always children there playing. So when my mum used to take me to hospital, I'd play with all the other kids and we'd all be called in individually to see our doctor or our dermatologist. So I thought all children went to hospital and went to school as well. So that's how innocent I was to the idea that I was different. But when I was 30, I decided to try treatment one more time. I was living what I felt like was hell for me. That feeling of just never fitting in, never having, never being able to date comfortably and live comfortably day to day. So I decided to try treatment one more time, and I went to have UVB narrowband treatment. There was lots of conversations around the side effects of this treatment. When you hear the dreaded word, skin cancer, it automatically puts you off. It's quite an intense type of treatment. It's a heavy commitment. And all of these things, despite weighing on the negative side, didn't put me off. And I decided to go ahead with it. So I spent 12 months going to hospital. I'd go twice a week to stand inside what looked like a tanning booth. And they would turn this machine on and UV light would filter my body. I'd go into the machine at the beginning of the process, for about 10 seconds, and then you'd gradually build up to around 2 minutes. So by the end of the 12 months, I'd been standing in this box twice a week for about 2 minutes, and a miracle started to happen. Within 3 months, I started to repigment. Very slowly, my brown pigment was coming back, and I literally was watching my skin change, and I felt like my life was changing before me. Up until that point, beach holidays were just not something I'd done, and it suddenly gave me the confidence to start buying swimsuits, to start buying summer clothing. I started to feel comfortable. But I had a really alarming moment when I was talking to a friend, and I said to her that I was having this treatment. And she said to me, "Natalie, why on earth are you having this intense treatment, going to hospital twice a week before work, which would be around 7 o'clock in the morning, because I didn't want work to know what I was doing? Why are you doing this to your body? This is your skin, this is your story, and you're changing your skin because of everybody else." And that was my wake-up call to why I was actually doing this. I wasn't doing this for me. I wasn't doing this to make me feel comfortable. I was doing this to make everybody else feel comfortable, so that everybody else would just leave me alone and stop staring at me and questioning why my skin looked the way that it did. And I did carry on with the treatment, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't want to lose my skin. I don't want to lose what has given me my identity, what has given me my story, and what has been with me my entire life, because I don't know a life without it. So I do obviously still have vitiligo. There are parts of the body where UVB narrowband doesn't cure. That's the hands and the feet. So I've still got it on my hands and feet. I've got it on my face still. I've still got it on my arms and still on my legs, and I'm very, very proud of that. So thankfully I didn't lose all of my vitiligo. So the moment that changed everything. So in, I think it was around 2014, Winnie Harlow obviously came onto the scene with vitiligo. And I'd never seen people with vitiligo just roaming around on the streets. I mean, I would see the odd person, but I never saw anyone that looked like me to the point where I felt like I was being represented. So Winnie Harlow burst onto the scenes, onto America's Next Top Model, and I looked at her and I thought to myself, wow, it was a breakthrough. It was incredible. And all of a sudden, people were fascinated by her skin, and they were talking about this incredible woman that had confidence, that loved herself, and wasn't letting her skin define her. So then the interest started to come. There was some public interest, there was a lot of press interest, and people started to wanting to hear our stories. So my changing moment came in 2016, which I was very unaware of at the time. I was invited to talk on a news programme in the UK to talk about the challenges often associated with living with a skin condition like mine. And I was incredibly nervous. When I was asked by the Vitiligo Society to do this, my initial reaction was absolutely no way. I have kept this skin condition a secret up until this point, and there is no way I'm going to go onto TV and talk about what it's like living with vitiligo. But of course I did, and it was one of the best things that I ever done. I spoke on the news channel. I spoke about the challenges. I spoke about using fake tan to cover my skin. I spoke about the difficulties, and I spoke about feeling very, very alone. And it was after that show that I said to myself, I have vitiligo and I'm going to be okay with it. And that's when the transformation started. People started to reach out to me on DMs and via email saying that they too had the condition. And it was then that I realized that I wasn't the only one living like this. There was a global community around the globe that were also suffering and finding it really difficult. And that's when things started to change. So I started my Instagram platform, Gifted Skin, in 2017, and I started to connect with the community. I started to find friends. We had conversations, we connected, we shared stories, and then that's when I found my tribe, and things really started to change. And also along with, you know, a lot of the media attention and the press attention. So these are just some of the things that I have done since then. I've become an ambassador, an advocate, a charity director, and also speak at clinical trials, and also, you know, share with a lot of pharmaceuticals the challenges often associated with having the condition. As Faye mentioned before, I've been in magazines, I've been in the Cosmopolitan, I've also contributed to a children's book because people want to make sure that they depict vitiligo in the correct way. So I helped edit this lovely Rainbow Magic book. So there's been some incredible opportunities to really raise awareness and educate people and talk about why vitiligo is such a challenging condition. And the really important thing for me to change, or to help change, along with all the other incredible content creators and people raising awareness, I really want people to understand this is not just a physical thing. It's mentally damaging, it's psychologically damaging, and it's very, very harming. And that's the kind of message that we're trying to spread today. So I went in to do a lot of charity work. So in 2017, having been a member of the Vitiligo Society since I was 3 years old, so they've been a part of my life for a very, very long time, I became a trustee of the society. I'm one of 9 trustees, and we work really, really hard to raise awareness and champion representation and inclusivity. I'm the editor of the Vit Life, so it's a members magazine. So I write 2 articles a month where I focus on themes around vitiligo, and that could be anything from how to have a confident body in the summer, to what sun cream you should be wearing and what products to use during the summer, to how to help your child if you just recognize that your child has been first diagnosed. So I cover a range of themes. I'm also an ambassador for Changing Faces, which is another charity in the UK, and have also worked very closely with the British Skin Tone Foundation and also the Centre for Appearance Research. And it's all work that I find is just really purposeful for me. And I'll always say that, you know, I do my day job, and I do my day job as best I can, but this is where my purpose and my heart really is. So in 2019, I went to my first World Vitiligo Day in Texas, which was a huge deal for me. And again, really life-changing, because I was suddenly in a room with hundreds of people that looked like me, that could share stories, that can talk about their experience and feel such a strong sense of togetherness and community. And it was an absolute eye-opener for me. It's an incredible event. It's an event that still goes today. We're now in our 11th year of World Vitiligo Day, from what I understand. It takes place over 2 days. This year it's in Tampa, and I think Winnie Harlow's going to be there this year, so they've got a real treat this year. But it's an incredible moment to really get together. There's lots of experts there, doctors, dermatologists, content creators, advocates. It's a real family vibe, and it's an incredible opportunity to really kind of reach out and just feel part of something big. So representation is incredibly important today, and you know, it's amazing what so many brands are doing to make sure that they represent and include everyone. But for me, it's really important that this isn't just a fashionable thing. It's important that this is not just on a strategy that says this year we're going to use someone with vitiligo. What is really important is this is part of everyday life, and this is what we do and continue to do for the foreseeable, because representation matters. It's important that we really try and normalize vitiligo, and we try to get away from the what is vitiligo to this is what vitiligo is, because everybody just naturally knows. It's, you know, an absolute honor to work with so many brands who recognize the importance of representation and understand what real bodies look like. It really educates the wider public. It helps promote understanding and also empathy as well. And seeing people with vitiligo in the media really helps foster self-acceptance and confidence for those people that are impacted. And I think this is really important for children, because I didn't grow up in an era where I was around social media and, you know, models existed. You know, for all I was aware, I was the only person in the world with vitiligo. But children now get to read books that have characters with vitiligo. They've got Barbie dolls, they've got teddy bears, they've got all of these incredible things that really show them that they too are represented. And this sort of work really helps. So all these content creators and models and advocates are doing an incredible job doing that. And these are just some of the things that I've done in the past. I've worked with Dove Beauty. I've also worked for a pharmaceuticals called Boots. I was in their Christmas magazine, and also a number of other beauty products. So it's a real great way to feel represented and show representation. Working with the community and being alongside the community is really important to me, and I've actively collaborated with a number of different brands. And at the moment I work really closely with Living Dappled, which is an incredible platform that is for women and girls, that really champions body confidence, and living a really healthy and happy life with vitiligo. And this is just one of the campaigns that we're going to be launching really soon, which is getting people ready for summer and living confidently with summer. And there's 6 girls with vitiligo that will be taking part in this campaign, and it really is just that confidence boost to let women, to let people know that you too can live a healthy, happy life, whether that's on the beach, whether that's, you know, going to school, whether that's doing your day job. You can live a life that is as content as the person next to you, even though you have a skin condition. So for me, my 3 really key pillars that really helped me navigate this condition was developing a strong mindset, being part of a community, and feeling empowered. So for me, mindset is really important, and that for me sits as a priority, because without my mindset, I can't feel comfortable. So I had to get rid of a lot of negative messages that were always filtering my mind. And one of the things that I really had to work on was not putting people first, not worrying about what people think, not worrying about the stares, because that still happens now, not worrying about the intrusive questions, and gaining the confidence to have a strong mindset where if someone asks me what vitiligo is, I can explain it to them, and I can give them that understanding and educate them. I had to tell myself that when people were staring, they weren't necessarily staring because they thought my skin was unattractive, because what if they were actually staring because they thought my skin was beautiful and unique? And that is what I tell myself every time I catch someone staring. They're not staring because they hate it. They're actually staring because they really like it. And it might be a bit psychological, but that really helps me to understand that I'm not allowing other people's ideas really impact how I feel about myself. And now I can wear shorts in the summer, I can wear t-shirts, and I can do that with absolute comfort. Being part of the community, I don't know where I would be without the community. I have friends now. I've been on spa breaks with friends who have vitiligo, and just having that tribe of people that understand and being part of a community that knows your story and that you can talk to has really helped me to gain the confidence that I've got. And just feeling empowered by my story, by other people's stories, has also really helped me too. So my message to you, my message to you is, you know, I really understand what it's like to live with this condition day to day, and to see your body at a point where you may really hate it. And I know what that feels like. But if you are one of those people that really dislikes your skin at the moment, please believe that that can change with, you know, making sure that you adopt the right things to kind of support yourself. So my key things to you are: your skin tells a story of strength, resilience, and beauty, and you have to realize just how strong you are because you are living day to day with this condition, and you're navigating this journey on your own with the support of family and friends and a community. But this is your story that you're navigating, so own it proudly. Know that you're not alone. You know, we're in this together. Build your community, you know, feel supported and feel empowered by yourself and by the stories around you. Recognize that beauty is diverse. You know, we've got models with, you know, models that are curvy, that have got stretch marks, that have got flaws, that have got skin conditions, you know, and really recognize that in today's world, beauty is such a diverse thing, and there is not one type of beauty. There's no standard beauty. And only you hold the power to decide how you feel about yourself. Don't let anyone else's opinions or thoughts of you change how you feel about yourself. And this is a quote that I really live by, that I actually made up myself. And this to me just makes me realize the importance of community. In a world where 70 million people have vitiligo, never feel like you're alone, because you're not. And that's me. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this powerful network that is today. Let's keep raising awareness, building community, and celebrating every shade of beauty.
Amazing. Thank you, Natalie. I don't know about you all, but I found that definitely inspiring. And Nat, thank you so much, because I know how busy you are getting ready for your own World Vitiligo Day celebrations in the UK. So from the bottom of my heart and from all of us, thank you so much for being here today.
Very, very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Now we've got Polo, who's going to introduce our next speaker. Actually, you can give me that. Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Polo. I'll be doing this session with Sushamita. So I'm just going to introduce our next guest, who is also coming to us internationally all the way from India. Diagnosed with vitiligo at the age of 9, her journey of resilience has grown into a powerful movement. Through storytelling and social media, she has reached millions, breaking stigma and encouraging others to embrace their uniqueness. A former software engineer, now she channels her lived experience into advocacy using her platform to foster awareness, empathy, and empowerment. She is married and a proud mother of a 5-year-old son. Please welcome Sushamita.
Hello. Hi, Paulo. Hi, everyone. It was lovely to hear Natalie. And it is so good to see all of you here. Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you, Faye. So, yes.
So thank you so much,
Yes,
Sushamita.
thank
It's been a real pleasure speaking to you and also, listening to your part of the journey. I'm just going to ask you a few questions so that you can share your journey and your thoughts. And, maybe it will, I'm sure it will help someone along the way. Thank you so much, Sushamita. So I wanted to ask you, how has vitiligo shaped your identity or outlook on life in general?
So I got my first patch when I was around 9 years old. So maybe throughout the years, it just taught me that nothing is permanent. You know, whether it's the constantly changing skin color, even many other things happened in my life too, like anybody. But yeah, some losses, some things. So it all kind of shaped that nothing is permanent. At the same time, our belief systems shape our life, right? Vitiligo is one of the factors, of course, how it influences how we perceive ourselves, how we look to an extent. On the other hand, the beliefs we carry, that actually shapes our life to a larger extent. And one more thing it taught me is also to understand where the other person is coming from. Very early, since I had vitiligo, maybe 25 years back from now, right? So that time there was no awareness in India, especially there was no awareness, and even my parents were clueless. Right from a pediatrician to a child specialist, even skin specialist, dermatologists, it took us 5 to 6 years to know that this is called as vitiligo. It actually like led to a lot of figuring out whether it's treatments, whether it's how to approach perceive. And also, one important thing it taught me is, yeah, of course, like we speak a lot about stairs. I had, seen a lot of stairs. Even now, I get it. But my perspective towards it has evolved, maybe as a person, since I've evolved too over the years. And it also taught me that, 90% or 95% of the stares is very out of curiosity. 5% might be intentional or might, mean in a different way. But because I somewhere relate myself to staring at somebody, sometimes it happens very humanly, not intentionally. But I have, we all maybe catch ourselves staring at people for various reasons. I'm not justifying stares. But on the other hand, what helped me do, was also that having conversations with people. When people would stare at me or even speak to me, initially I was reluctant. I was not comfortable. But then when I started talking to people, they like the person started seeing me beyond my skin. Of course, vitiligo is part of my identity. It has shaped my outlook. At the same time, it's not my only identity. It's one of my important stories, but I have a larger story to life, being myself, being Sushamita, right? Or for all of you, it is applicable. So it kind of shaped my perspective to see life from a larger perspective. And now, like even my career choices, I'm a full-time working professional. I work for an MNC. So I have changed my career line from an engineer to working into the space of inclusion. I work for the inclusion of people with disabilities, people from minority, walks of life. So that way I feel vitiligo has really shaped to look at life in a perspective where you are more accepting and adaptable to things. Of course it has impacted, I'm not denying on that, but it also taking out the the brighter side to it. And also working on my belief systems really helped, because whenever something happens to our external looks, it impacts our belief systems of what we deserve, what we attract in our life. So working on that code has really helped me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sushamita. So I'm of Indian background, and I believe you are too. Just tell me, culturally, how has your experience been?
Like in India, like you also know, Paulo, looks are given a lot of priority. I mean, I guess globally also looks matter, right? I mean, it's like the external identity a person carries. So in India also, of course, it was a thing. Like when I got, all my elders were very, very, of course, like any elder, my parents were very extremely worried. More than me, they were worried. I was a carefree child, kind of, at least when I got it, right? Then in my teenage, I got kind of rebellious when many treatments were tried. So ideally, like of course there were many things, going to doctors. My childhood went in going to hospitals, clinics, doctors, like many of you, and also going to temples. Like when we don't have answers, we turn to God, which is pretty fine, which is human, right? That also happened, and maybe that way, if I see back to take it in a positive way, maybe I gained a lot of blessings too. People used to do a lot of prayers for me that I get healed and all those things. On the other hand, like we kept trying many treatments. Initially, I was at one point I felt very fed up of, because I felt some treatments, whether it's Ayurveda, homeopathy, there are different modalities, even allopathy. It kind of heated my body. So in India, since the skin, or the complexion or the external looks kind of is taken at a higher side, especially for girls, for women, at that point of time, definitely. Now it is evolving over a point in time. So trying different treatments, it did impact me mentally. I won't deny that. On the other hand, one of the treatments, in my case at least, it worked for me. Like if you see, I had 75% of my face covered with white patches, vitiligo. So UVB narrowband, UVB helped me in healing my face. Even I had bigger patches here. This didn't recover. I have here also. I have a mirror form of vitiligo, right? So I still have it on my feet too, which is on all visible areas of my body. I have around 25%, but some it did help me heal the narrowband UVB. So somewhere it also helped me understand that yes, I need to understand maybe a parental perspective. They wanted, because parents, maybe some parents come from the idea of, I want to fix this for my child. That is how I show my love for them. I'm not like kind of advocating for it, but that is a natural parental instinct. So so that is where
Absolutely.
yeah, so that kind of, so in a way it helped me heal to an extent. On the other hand, I also, like, maybe over the journey I've accepted myself. Earlier stares used to bother me. Now stares are, I don't even notice if somebody is staring. Maybe I've reached to that, personally I've reached to that acceptance level. And maybe people know me more. When people get to know me, they know me more for the person I am. Then vitiligo naturally takes the backseat. So that has been my experience in terms of being in India, growing in India, and also all these aspects. Of course, UVB doesn't work for everybody. Like in my community also, some people have really benefited out of it, like I have, but for some it didn't work, right? So we
Yeah.
speak very openly about it. And also I have personally, kind of, since my vitiligo has been stable for the last more than 10 years, so some things which has helped me is monitoring my overall lifestyle, keeping myself happy, whether it's mental health, seeking therapy when it is required. Our family and friends can't do everything. The emotional cup has to be addressed and filled on a timely basis. So reflecting with a therapist helped me a lot. And also pursuing my hobbies, whether it's swimming, whether it's earlier I used to do yoga, even dance. So all these things actually help us, kind of holistically take care of ourselves, pursuing a profession which I like. So working on all these aspects kind of helped me with my journey, I feel, and
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
helped kind of stabilize the spread of vitiligo in
Yeah.
my
I
case.
guess. I guess all of us have our own journey, and not one thing will work for all. So I suppose we
Exactly.
need to look into what works best for us and go with it,
Yes.
however we can. Yeah. Shush, I would also like to ask you. So, if you had a chance to give a message to your younger self, what would it be?
I would say that it all falls into place. Just keep going. Just keep going. And also, build that ecosystem, keep building that ecosystem around you. Because earlier, I feel some of us, at least maybe for different reasons, not just vitiligo, sometimes our self-esteem is so low at times, that even if somebody loves us or, treats us well, we feel we are not deserving of it. And we push it away unknowingly. And then maybe, sometimes I felt my vitiligo had a role to play, because somewhere, like we spoke regionally also, the external looks has so much of a priority that maybe we start looking ourselves, valuing ourselves based on our external looks. It took me some time to come out of that external look part, because on a personal front, from an academic front also, that's a different story, but I had my own struggles. Then I became like very good in my academics with the right ecosystem. So I feel that like if I have to tell my younger self, I would say that it all falls into place. Keep going, and you'll get the support which you need. At the same time, it has really helped me that every adversity to an extent can be converted into an opportunity. Life is about transforming adversities in opportunity. We all here, we are here because we have vitiligo. I'm not glorifying it. At the same time, if not for vitiligo, maybe I wouldn't have seen life in a perspective which I see now. So I don't have any regrets when it comes to, my skin.
Well said, Sushamita. I do have some young girls here, and if you could give them a message or an advice to feel confident in their skin, what would it be?
Maybe it will be a little long. so I would say that feeling anything, feeling negative, feeling ashamed, feeling not so okay is part of the journey. It's okay to feel certain things which people say are negative, or it is okay, it's part of the journey, but you will slowly reach the place where you feel much better when you keep working on yourself, reflecting, taking care of yourself. Self love means doing what helps you in your context. We all have different contexts, different family backgrounds, different regions we are from. So do what helps you. And I would personally say that if some treatment has worked for somebody and you're okay to approach it, then approach it. I mean, it's not a mandate that you will have to, go through treatments. It's a personal choice. But again, if something is helping somebody, why not give it a shot at least? And at the same time, please focus on self-care from a mental health standpoint. Like, I didn't hesitate going to a therapist. In India, especially, mental health therapy, seeking therapy is viewed in a different lens. Of course, it is evolving now, but that has been a core. I feel mental health is the basis of every condition in life. Every health condition can be kind of managed or reversed, or even stabilized to an extent when we take care of our mind and the thoughts. Not saying that I'm perfect, but I'm a better work in progress now. So that way, if you see, take care of your mental health, and do what you want. Like, even like how Natalie said in terms of the dresses and all, like, of course, in like from a regional perspective, we wear a little longer dresses. Like now, in the recent generations, people wear short skirts or shorts, but especially when I grew up, it was always long skirts, it was long sleeves. My parents were also very like conscious about it. But now I do wear a sleeveless, I do wear a shorter skirt, I do wear a one piece dress, right? So explore yourself and go out. Go out based on your comfort. Even some days you feel you don't want to go out, it is completely fine. And even if you have if you want to use camouflage creams, or if you don't want to use it, it's your choice. And especially, also when it comes to relationships, settle for what you deserve, not because what your skin makes you decide.
Wonderful,
So
Sushamita. Really
that's
lovely to hear from you. I just wanted to share, when I spoke to Sushamita, coincidentally, we are the same age. We got vitiligo at the same age. And our journey was sort of the same, not exactly, but sort of similar. And, she's a lovely person to speak to. It was really nice hearing from you, Sushamita. Thank you so much. A big hand for her, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Paulo. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, all of you here. And I can see
Thank you,
Nanda
Sushamita.
also. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yosh.
Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. So we've got one more little surprise for you, coming to us all the way from the USA this time. Our final guests for today, who unfortunately couldn't be here because the time zone was absolutely too cruel and I couldn't do it to them. But instead they have sent us a bit of a recorded message, which I think you'll find insightful and touching. Briya, Fitzgerald and Vastia Sylvester are a powerhouse co-founders of Colourful Connections, an organisation dedicated to challenging stigmas around the world and visible differences. Briya, a US Air Force veteran, model and social entrepreneur from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She uses her lived experience to champion inclusion, collaborating with brands like Nike, Revlon and Savage X Fenty, and leading mental health advocacy within initiatives across the US. Vastia, a Forbes published writer, speaker and master-trained IO psychologist, brings a unique blend of frontline medical experience and data-driven strategy. She designs training programs that equip healthcare professionals with tools for ethical and compassionate care. Together, this dynamic duo are building community, shifting narratives, and advancing equity in both media and medicine. They may not be here in person, but I know they'll be watching the replay, so please give a big Aussie welcome to Briya and Vastia.
Hi everyone, I'm Briya Fitzgerald.
And I'm Vastia Sylvester.
Happy World Vitiligo Day. I am a U.S. Air Force veteran. I've had vitiligo for about, I want to say 15 years now, since I was 11. I am a model, interior designer, co-founder of Colorful Connections, an advocate, and I'm just excited to be able to connect with you guys today.
And again, I'm Vastia Sylvester. I am the second half to Colorful Connections. I also have so many other things that I have as a title, but I'm a psychologist above all else, specific to industrial and organizational psych. And basically, I don't have vitiligo, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to show up for a community.
I developed vitiligo at the age of 11. Ironic enough, it was the year that Michael Jackson passed away. So developing it so young as a kid, I was already a shy kid and I definitely didn't want any further attention than my body already received. Initially, I covered, I didn't know what it was. My mom took me to the dermatologist. I was diagnosed and they told me pretty much there is no cure. I have the type that doesn't stop spreading. And I can take these creams, I can get skin grafting, I can get tattoos, but that's the only types of treatment pretty much that I was given. So I tried the creams. I just think that I just didn't want to feel greasy all the time. I still put it on, but not as often. I covered it up. I wore jeans in the summertime in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's hot and very humid to be wearing jeans in the summertime, but I did. I tried my best to cover it up. I had one patch on my eye, which is kind of where it started. I tried this one makeup brand and it made me orange and it transferred everywhere. Just like, I'd rather not be orange. I'd rather just deal with my spots. I kind of just dealt with my spots. I was coming out of isolation, a point of isolation. I was like, hey, I'm tired of feeling this level of loneliness. We kind of put together our passions, my passion for advocacy, her passion for inclusion and justice, and we came up with this beautiful organization called Colorful Connections.
So Briya got a chance to tell you how we started Colorful Connections. I feel like this is the best time for us to tell you exactly what Colorful Connections is. So Colorful Connections is a nonprofit organization seeking to destigmatize the way that the world views people who have vitiligo as well as other visible differences, and as well as we're assisting the autoimmune condition community. Now, some of the things that I've experienced, especially working in the medical field, and some of the things that Briya experienced on the other side of a doctor's office visit, were some of our passions that we put together to make Colorful Connections come to fruition. We like to have fun. We like for us to look good. We love for everyone to feel included. We love for people to feel just as good as they look and then some. So we were like, okay, how do we do that as well as change the way that the world views people with vitiligo? And so we made Colorful Connections. And last year we did an amazing 5-city tour, and we were able to write an article for Forbes. We were able to give away phototherapy devices, as well as, you know, just kind of sort of bridge the gap as far as conversations were concerned. We talk about everything. We talk about the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, and we do it from a place of mental health awareness. Like I've told you guys, I'm a psychologist, and as a psychologist, one of the biggest things for me is making sure that people are good, period.
Vitiligo is a journey. It has its highs, it has its lows, and this can go for anybody who lives with visible differences. Get to know who you are at your core and establish that relationship first. From there can be your source of confidence. That way, when you have those high moments and you have those low moments, you have a baseline of security. The initial shock in having to deal with this new identity, it's gonna take a minute for you to learn how to, well, it depends per person, but for a lot of people, it takes a while to get to a point where you feel comfortable enough to just be yourself. And I know in different areas of the world, like, it looks different. It could be a means of safety in some areas of the world. So I would always say to do what's best for you, what works for you. Whether you choose to cover up or not cover up. I like to say at Colorful Connections, we provide you with all the options. If you want to cover up, hey, this is how you apply the makeup. We're working on some series to give people options and to know all of your options and make a decision, a sound decision from there after being informed. I would say connect with community, get in touch with your community. Find a vitiligo community that's out there, because I guarantee you there's somebody who's also new in your journey, even if it's online. It feels much better hearing from a person that they share the same feelings that you do. It's a different type of reassurance and a different type of feeling of being seen, that only a person who looks like you can connect. I feel like that's a really big aspect of figuring out this new journey, is just to get connected with people. Can you tell me about your role as an ally and ways that you show up?
First of all, put completely on the spot. Well, so like I said, I, as a plus size woman, as the tallest in the room, the loudest in the room, the person who takes up space even when you're not trying to take up space. I've always been someone who champions for those who cannot champion for themselves. Check my credentials, ask anybody who I've gone to school with, anybody that, you know, even my siblings will tell you one thing I'm going to do is fight for people's rights to exist. So as an ally to the community, I think that it's very, very important. One, I shut up, I listen, I sit back. If I have resources, if I have ways in which I can assist, if I know of things that you're probably not thinking of, my role as a person is to make sure that you have those things. Because what are resources if you're not going to give them? And I think that especially as I continued on this lovely journey of Colorful Connections, and even prior to, I didn't want it to be your job. I didn't want I didn't want the weight of having to be a teacher in every single moment to be something that you had to do. I didn't want you to teach me about vitiligo. I wanted you to teach me about you. Yeah. And so because of that, I think that that's the important part. I don't want to see your condition as something you need to teach me and you have to like walk me through it and hold my hands. No, I want to get to know Briya. I know that Briya has vitiligo, but it's not your job to sit there and give me the full on breakdown every single time that you see me or every time you see somebody else. If I already come with information and I already come knowing, then that takes the burden off of you. You have worked with some of the biggest names out there. We have Victoria's Secrets, we have Revlon, we got Savage X Fenty. Okay. We have your most recent one, which was Selkie. What would you say is something that, you know, yes, I know that you're proud of what you're bringing to the table, but what are some things that you think needs to be changed still?
First of all, it has been a privilege and an honor to have gone as far as I did, as I have in my modeling career. And I'm grateful for every opportunity, whether it's been a good or a bad experience. I believe that in the world altogether, inclusion is under attack. And I feel like we're working there, but we haven't fully gotten there to the point where I'm just a model and not a diversity hire or a diversity and inclusion hire. I feel that people with all differences, until we are able to just be considered as models or talent, we still have work to do. But I do want to say thank you to Faye, thank you Australia, thank you VAA so much for this opportunity to connect with you guys from even so far away and to have a voice on your platform. It means the world to us, and we cannot wait to see you guys in person when we come to Australia.
Oh yeah. Also, y'all tell her happy birthday. Her actual birthday is World Vitiligo Day. Yes. The actual Vitiligo Day, which is on June 25th.
Yes, it is. It is. I would appreciate it.
You know, like I was about to say, tell her happy birthday. But yes, thank you so much, Vitiligo Australia. We appreciate you, especially Faye. Thank you for hopping on calls with us, being ready, checking in, making sure that we're okay. And yeah, we are going to let you guys go, but have a happy and beautiful World Vitiligo Day.
Woo!
I think both girls do such incredible work championing for the community, but and I've had the absolute pleasure to get to know both of them over the past couple of months. And can I just say their passion and heart shine through in everything that they do. And let's give Briya a happy birthday for World Vitiligo Day. Happy birthday, Briya. So that concludes our guest speaker segment. Thank you for sitting through all of that. One final thank you to everyone who's still online. I think Shush is still there. Natalie is still there. Onella is obviously still here. And I just want to personally say a big, warm, lovely thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being with us here today. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move into our guest panel now. So I might get some chairs out and they can come and sit up front. So, Adrian, we'll probably start with you, I think, if that's okay.
Sure.
I think you were going to try and group some of your questions together. Would you like me to remind you what?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So, hi everybody, and actually, just for those of you here, make sure you take a cookie on the way out that were baked by my one of my nurses. So, Tyler, shout out to Tyler, thanks. And thanks, Faye. What an amazing event, and everybody involved, and here and overseas. So there were a number of questions that came through. I'll try to be brief. There were three that I thought might cover actually some of the questions altogether. One was about recent research into gut health and how that may relate to vitiligo. So it's a very interesting question. I think the first thing I'd just like to point out is that even though we might be talking about is there some, well, not something wrong with the gut, but some influence of change in the gut flora that could have an impact on vitiligo. Of course, it's nobody's fault that they got vitiligo. It's nothing that they did. And so even though gut health may have an impact on the number of conditions, it's not because somebody's had bad gut health that they got vitiligo, of course. So it is a new area of interest. We've known for a long time, say in dermatology, that some very common conditions are related to the fact that our immune system is interacting all the time with harmless bugs that are on our skin. And our immune system's got this very complex job to know the difference between the many harmless bugs in our gut, on our skin, from the potentially nasty ones. It's designed, of course, to get rid of the nasty ones. And when we look down the microscope, they look all the same. So occasionally the immune system can get it wrong. I mean, that's really all dandruff is. That's a part of our immune system reacting against a harmless yeast that's on everybody's skin. I think it's one of the bad guys. And we live with trillions and trillions of bacteria in our gut. And in fact, there's more bacterial cells in our gut than there are cells that actually make up our body. So it's surprising that only recently we've started to explore this a little bit more. And it does seem as though some people's immune system seems to be triggered by certain bacteria in the gut, and that can manifest in other forms of inflammation. And when I say inflammation, we're really talking about a part of the immune system misbehaving, doing things that it shouldn't do. In the case of vitiligo, of course, attacking the pigment cells, but there are other inflammatory conditions, eczema, psoriasis. And so I guess all I really can say is that it is an evolving area of research which is of interest. And I think it is true that studies are showing that people with vitiligo and some other inflammatory conditions that I mentioned have a different mix of gut flora. And it may be in the coming years that we'll hear a little bit more about probiotics, so-called prebiotics, and other things that we maybe could do to address that balance. Did you want me to go on or to?
May as well.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, there was a second question, a couple of questions about creams. So vitiligo remains a challenge. A lot of times we still can't treat because at the end of the day, when the immune system does get rid of the pigment cells, it literally does kill those cells off, and we have to replace them. And if we can't, well, then we can't bring the pigment back. So any cream is really designed not to bring the pigment cells back, but to stop the immune system attacking those pigment cells. And so the value of a cream is always going to be somewhat limited because it's just at that early stage before the pigment cells have been completely killed off that a cream has a chance of allowing those pigment cells to recover, whether it's from that reservoir in the hair follicles that those of you who've had UV therapy know that pigment comes around the hair follicles in that case, or some pigment cells that haven't yet been completely killed off. So creams, the main creams that I guess have been introduced of late, a lot may be familiar with tacrolimus, which is a non-steroid cream, and there's a lot of excitement in the US of a cream called ruxolitinib, which is a more targeted cream. So when we're affecting the immune system, we really want to ideally not dampen all the immune system, but to dampen just that small part of the immune system that's overactive, in this case, attacking the pigment cells. This cream may be a bit better than what we've had before, but again, I'll go back to the limitations. A cream will not bring back the pigments in areas like the hands where there is no reservoir of those dormant pigment cells. And the studies do suggest that whether it's tacrolimus or ruxolitinib, these creams do work better with UV therapy, and the UV therapy here having a role of stimulating those pigment cells if there are some left once that immune attack is being controlled by the cream. I'll just the last question. There was just one question about ReCell, which is a kit developed in Perth actually for burns victims. The process called epidermal grafting is done outside of using the kit, and myself and some colleagues have been doing it at the Skin Health Institute here. We'll be restarting the process again soon after a little bit of a sort of hiatus. The world's experts in this procedure are in India, and what is done is a thin sliver of skin is taken from one site, sometimes the buttock or the thigh, and then that is in a laboratory put into a petri dish. Added to that are some chemical enzymes that separate out all the individual cells, so the building block cells in that top layer of the skin, as well as the pigment cells. And then on the white patch of vitiligo, laser or some other means is done to remove that top layer of the skin. And then from that petri dish is created a solution of a person's own skin cells. And then that is applied as a solution onto that area of skin that's had the top layer removed. The ReCell was kind of marketed as spray on skin, but the reality is we just sort of drop it on. So the advantage is that it's the person's own pigment cells that are being replaced, and so the pigment cells would tan and match the color as per normal. And because we're only removing the very top layer of the skin from where we're taking the skin from and where we're replacing it on the white patch, it should heal without scarring. Now, it sounds great, and the world's experts can get very good results in parts of vitiligo that are stable. So in other words, we have to first and foremost make sure that the immune system has stopped attacking the skin. Otherwise, all of that trouble and expense is for nothing if the immune system just comes back and gets rid of those transplanted pigment cells. We don't have any biomarkers yet or any blood tests to tell us when the immune system has stopped attacking the skin, because we know it's not a constant thing, it will come and go. So we just simply have to observe that those white patches are unchanged without any treatment for at least 6, most experts would say 12 months, as an indicator that the immune system has stopped attacking the skin. So it's successful in stable vitiligo, but unfortunately the experts really can't get it to work on the fingers where we really need it. It's just an area where the cells don't seem to take. And even when the experts do get a very good result, it's not always 100%, but the treatment can be repeated. So to answer the question, we are doing at the Skin Health Institute. If anybody is interested, they can make some inquiries through the VAA.
Thanks, Adrian. There is actually one other question I was hoping you could, I'm going to put him on the spot now, sorry, just because it came up a couple of times, and that is the correlation between having one autoimmune condition and another. Do you have anything you can share?
Well, I think this is very common, and people, I think, themselves often know this once they realize that vitiligo is an autoimmune condition, that there are other autoimmune conditions that run in the family, particularly thyroid disease. And it's not that the thyroid disease would cause the vitiligo. It really just tells us a bit about that person's immune system and the immune system that runs in the family. Most things that we inherit, it's not through one gene. There's not one gene that gets passed from one generation to the next. That's very rare. There's some conditions, but that's not common. Most conditions, including vitiligo, it's a collection of genes. We all get half our genes from mum and half from dad. And it may be in our parents that collection of genes, in this case to do with the immune system and perhaps what the pigment cells are like, is not enough in that parent to cause vitiligo, but the combination in the child is enough to make them predisposed to vitiligo. Now, those same genes, again related to the immune system being overactive, can manifest differently. Autoimmune thyroid disease, other autoimmune conditions, and interestingly, a number of studies now have shown that in people and in families where there is a very strong history of autoimmune disease, which is to say the immune system is overactive, there's actually a lower than expected risk of cancer. And that makes sense to us, because if the immune system is dampened down too much, people are actually more prone to getting cancer. We know that if we do that, if people have had say an organ transplantation, we have to by medical means dampen their immune system, they do get more cancer. So that's the, I guess, the flip upside.
Thank you, Adrian. That's amazing. Great. Onella, I've got a question here for you, and that is, what does World Vitiligo Day mean to you personally?
So to me personally, it is, I guess, a similar day to, I guess I compare it to Mother's Day or Father's Day. You are a mother 24/7. You are the father 24/7. I do live with vitiligo 24/7, but this is a day for me to feel celebrated, for me to share with family and friends. And as a model and content creator, I've always, I guess, felt like I needed to be the one to educate people and share it publicly. So for me, with the job that I do, it's also a day for me to raise awareness and connect with other people that also have vitiligo. So it's a little bit of a mixed day. And I think for some reason I seem to run on American time. I always miss the day and I always get it the day after. But yeah, I think for me, that's what it means. And I'm sort of reflecting a bit on what Vastia was saying about it not being my responsibility to have to educate people. And I think that's something I'm sort of taking on a little bit more personally, but professionally for what I do, it's a bit of a mix.
I would encourage you all, actually, given it is World Vitiligo Day on the 25th. There are so many of the organisations around the world running their own World Vitiligo Day events. Yes, albeit some of them are going to be in the wee hours of the morning, but it's probably worth having a look at some of them and jumping online and just joining another community for something a little bit different. Niz, hi, how are you? Good. I have a question here for you, and it is about how you talk about vitiligo at home, because I know that you've got a child with vitiligo. Yes.
Okay, I just tell a bit of history about us. My daughter, she was 5 years old, and I think during COVID we saw the first patch on both the sheen. And actually, I didn't notice much, but my wife, she is very much into it, and she always had it because my maternal grandmother, had a vitiligo. So, and we know that it runs in a family. So she was always bit watchful. I mean, was watching the kid all the time for every change in kind of the skin. So, and then it was a very emotional journey for us to accept it initially. Like it took a couple of months. We lost around 6 kilos of weight just by going through the stress of a girl. I know parent of a girl child. Like how are we gonna deal with it? What are we gonna do? We know nothing. We knew nothing about it. So eventually we learned, we accepted it. And then that was, I think, change in our perception towards vitiligo. So like every now and then when I get a chance with my little daughter, when we get a chance, I speak with her, like, how do you feel about it? What do you think? What people say? Or how are you gonna react when people come to you and ask you about your skin? Because she's in primary school, and like everyone else mentioned, at this age, she's 8-year-old, and it's nothing for, she's very innocent now. It's nothing she doesn't think too much about it, but there will be a time when she goes to high school, or maybe in another 2-3 years, she will start thinking about the skin. So for me, it's the best thing is like to educate her from now, and to build her confidence that by the time she goes to high school, she is strong enough to talk to the other kids, or someone comes across and asks something, she should be able to say what it is and explain them. So it's always good to have an open conversation with the kid, and especially listen to them, what they feel. And I don't want to tell a lot of things now, because it makes no sense when I talk about science to her about this, how it's happening, what's happening. But it's, at least as a parent, she feels that she is loved, and mom and dad, they do best for her. So that's what we're doing at the moment. Yeah.
Onella, I've got a question here for you. My daughter is almost 15 and struggling with her confidence. What advice would you give to her?
I think, speaking on what we've just heard, I think giving yourself the tools to be equipped for when people do come up and ask you something, or people are staring at you. And confidence is a journey. It's not I do this and then it's fixed, and you're going to face that throughout your whole life about a whole lot of different things. So really working on who you are and solidifying that mindset of this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, that I think will bring you the confidence and to just get out there and make sure you have fun. Don't let your vitiligo hold you back from going out and having fun with your friends or putting on that swimsuit in summer and all of those things. And it's really about building and giving yourself the tools to help you through your journey. And that might look different for you than it is for someone else. And just know that everybody else, because I know 15 is that age where you're starting to compare yourself and, you know, you're starting to get close to adulthood, and it can be intense. It feels like your whole life, but you have your whole life ahead of you. And just know that other people are also going to be, you know, not feeling as confident in their body, even if they don't have another visual difference. They're going to not feel as confident in your body, and everybody's going through, you know, a similar situation. And you have social media at your hands now, so use that to help you curate your feed to help with your confidence and bring you positivity. If you keep finding people that are, you know, comparing their bodies or things like that, just unfollow, mute them. You don't need to see that on your feed. You have the ability to curate what you consume via social media, because that's such a huge thing nowadays. And you also have the power to curate that within your life. If you've got friends that aren't particularly supportive, you don't owe them anything. And really curate the people that you have and the tools that you have for yourself.
Thank you so much. I think they'd be really grateful for that answer. Ms, can I ask you, or not me, but somebody else wanted to know, what have you found helpful as a parent? Is it information or other people? Or
Okay, the first thing I would say that as a parent, first job should be accept it. If you don't accept it, you cannot convince your kid, you cannot convince anyone else. If you're not happy inside, you cannot make other people happy. So very simple. If you don't accept it, no, you cannot convince anyone else. So like that's what the first thing, as I mentioned before, like to accept it. Once we're in a position that we accepting it, and then at least we had a confidence to share with our kid and tell her, like, and I will experiment. I will share this thing here. We saw a lot of advertisement, I think the Target, I think, or Bonds, I think you were connected with, and then we and my wife, we were motivated by your when we saw you in the Instagram feed, and even I think we saw Editas. They had some of the models from US, I reckon. They had a vitiligo, and so eventually we built a confidence. Like yes, things can change, and people are. We are not alone. And they are being accepted in the society. Like yes, you are okay. You are okay to have that skin, and no one would say anything about it. Second thing is education is very important. I would like always there's an effort that during this World Vitiligo Day, always approach the local, I would say MP or school and other associations where I tell them and ask them to share it on the social media. So what happens, more people, because they have a public reach, and if I say something, only my 100 friends will know. But when they say, suppose something on the Facebook or Instagram, there are hundreds of people come across. They start sharing their story, or they start asking questions about or trying to read about those condition. And other thing is like, even my next step would be approaching the high schools in the local high school. So what happens, like when a kid goes to the high school, she knows, I mean, school has they're aware there will be kids attending the school in the future, and they will be with this condition. So if they have to prepare with the resources, they can do that. Even I approach education department at one point, like having this sort of pamphlets pushing to every school throughout Victoria. But I think didn't have very good answers from them. But I think, and another thing is talk with your kids. I think that's one of the best things we can do, because we parents are confident, kids will be okay. They're the first. They see us every day, and if they think they're okay with it, they should be okay. Yeah.
thank you so much. Onella, what gives you hope for the future of the vitiligo community?
This one's an easy one because it's people coming together and speaking about it and raising awareness about it, and parents being more accepting of it from a very initial stage. And it's, people just knowing about the condition. And I think now we're sort of in this society where we're starting to accept people's differences, no matter what that is. And we're moving away from this one vision of what beauty and what we have to always strive to, be. And that is really good for this community because it accepts people as they are and for their organic self. So I'm really hopeful that now we'll continue to grow on this, and other people can even look to communities like us who may not have vitiligo, they may have something else, but look at our community and see how supportive we are of each other and how accepting it is, and the different options and how we support people having the different options. Someone may choose to cover it up, someone may choose not to, and yeah, I think I've got a really positive outlook on the vitiligo community, and it's not really something I ever saw growing up myself, and I'm sure my parents would have loved to have had opportunities like this to speak to other parents that have had children with vitiligo to help them in their journey as well. So I'm really hopeful and very positive about the community, that it's going to become a better place for everyone, really.
I think we have got no time left for questions, unfortunately. I want to thank you all for being here and for being such champions and for us answering all the questions. There is just one other question that I'm going to answer that actually came in online, and that was about support for mental health. I mean, there are people in our community that really do suffer some chronic and some serious mental health, and all I would say to everybody is just reach out to somebody. You can always reach out to us at the VAA. We have got amazing resources, whether it's someone of us internally that can support, or we can put you in touch with somebody on a professional level. Please don't feel like you have to do this alone. Thank you, guys. Amazing. You can sit there if you want, or you can go to your chairs. It's totally up to you. You're comfortable? We're almost done anyway. Yeah, we really are. As we come to the end of our event today, I just want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for being here, for showing up with open hearts, and for being part of this beautiful community. Whether you came to listen and share or simply feel connected, I hope you're leaving today feeling seen, supported, and inspired. Let's carry the spirit of visible and valued into everything that we do, and continue to grow a community where every person with vitiligo feels connected, understood, and proud of who they are. Thank you again for your time, your energy, and your presence. Make sure to keep an eye out on our socials for announcements of upcoming events, and until next time, take care and keep shining. Thank you.